India bans a top game because it's backed by a Chinese company. Coinbase is giving away millions of dollars in Bitcoin, and TikTok is now the highest earning app in the US. That and more in this week's episode, so stay tuned. Welcome to a brand new episode of This Week in Apps. I'm Ariel from App Figures, and here are 5 things you need to know from the world of mobile apps and games. It's pretty clear that India is using the App Store and Google Play to fight China. Last week, the government of India instructed App Store operators for the third time to remove a list of 54 apps and games from their stores. Immediately, without a reason. I got my hands on the list and scanned it as soon as it came out. For the most part, it contained little utilities that probably steal data and a few unknown games mostly originating in China. But the very last name on the list was Garena Free Fire Illuminate, one of the most popular games in the world, according to our own estimates. The game is backed by the Chinese giant Tencent, which is most likely why India is banning it. I wanted to see just how big India is for Garena Free Fire, and the answer is easy. Very, very, very big. India is actually the biggest driver of downloads for the game since it launched in 2017. Our estimates show that more than 28% of the total downloads across the App Store and Google Play came from India in the last 4+ years, and that's roughly 260 million downloads. Brazil, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Mexico were the other top countries, but none of those get close to the scale of India. If you recall, TikTok took a serious hit to its overall downloads when it was banned in India last year. I expect Garena Free Fire numbers to drop significantly as well because of this ban. Luckily for Garena, India isn't where most of its revenue comes from, as you'll see in a minute, and interestingly enough, Garena Free Fire Max, from the same company, almost the same game, wasn't on the ban list. I'm not sure if they forgot or if they're keeping it for later, but it wasn't on the list. It's obvious the digital war between India and China continues to play out through apps, and I wonder if the politicians who make these rules understand the power they have, and that there are probably better ways to leverage it. Not yet. Speaking of games, this week I crunched the numbers to rank the highest earning apps and games in the US for January. Let's have a look at games first, and guess who came in at number 4? Starting at the top, Roblox was the highest earning mobile game in the US in January. It earned more than $86 million of net revenue, and that's after Apple and Google take their fees, according to estimates. Candy Crush Saga was right behind it with $51 million of net revenue in January in the US. Now, this pair has been in command of the list for quite a while now, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Coin Master, Garena Free Fire, yes, that Garena, and Bingo Blitz round out the top 5 overall. Now, we estimate that together, the top 10 highest earners brought in $310 million of net revenue from mobile players in the US this January. On to apps. If you've been following the channel for long enough, it should come as no surprise that TikTok is now in the lead. It happened! As I predicted last year, TikTok took the crown as the highest earning app in the US in January, bringing in $64 million of net revenue from the App Store and Google Play, according to our app intelligence. And by the way, you can access the same data I'm using to understand your industry. We offer high-quality estimates at a very affordable price. So check the link in the description below for details if that excites you. Now, it wasn't even hard for TikTok to win. TikTok was the highest earning app on the App Store and on Google Play in January. YouTube, Tinder, HBO Max, and Disney Plus, the usual suspects, round out the top 5 highest earners in the US in January. Now, the entire list shifted a bit from December, but one app didn't move an inch, and that's HBO Max, who retained its number 4 spot. I kind of expected that after reporting on its very strong year opener 2 weeks ago, and if you missed that episode, I'll drop a link to it in the description below because the numbers tell a very interesting story. According to our estimates, the top 10 highest earners in the US added $348 million of net revenue. That's after store fees to their bottom lines in January. Less than December, yes, but it's really hard to outdo the end-of-year rush, so it's not really that surprising. Shifting gears a bit, have you been watching the Olympic Games? I love sports, but I missed out on most of the first week simply because it wasn't really covered by the normal places I get my news from. And it looks like I'm not the only one. When I analyzed download patterns for Peacock and NBC Sports, the 2 apps you'd use to watch the games, there wasn't really any significant bump as I had expected. That's why you didn't see any mention of it in last week's episode. Someone on Twitter suggested that maybe that's because the location of the Olympics, but I'm not sure that's at all related, and I don't really want to get into politics. But then the Super Bowl happened, which was viewable on those 2 apps. and it heavily promoted the Olympic Games, which makes sense. Let's have a look at downloads. The Winter Olympics officially started a week before the Super Bowl, but looking at downloads for Peacock, which ended up being the destination for views, you wouldn't really be able to tell that something that big was going on, not from downloads at least, and not during the first week. Downloads grew a bit, going from a daily average of 50,000 to about 60,000 according to our estimates. Not really a huge difference. Then the Super Bowl happened, and it gave Peacock a really nice bump of downloads. But downloads didn't stop there. On game day, downloads rose to 180,000, and that was on Sunday. But unlike Coinbase's downloads, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, which slumped right away, Peacock's continued to soar. Thanks to the coverage of the Olympic Games, download crossed 200,000 on Monday and then hit 260,000 on Tuesday. They sloped down a bit on Wednesday, but not by that much. I wonder what would have happened if there was no overlap. By the way, if you reach this point, you must like this video, right? Give me a like. While we're talking about the Super Bowl, we have to talk about Coinbase. I did promise we'll talk about it. Coinbase, the crypto trading platform that's now almost synonymous with cryptocurrency, went big this Super Bowl with a clever ad and a very attractive promotion. They promised $15 of Bitcoin to anyone who scanned the QR code that was moving around on the screen. Giving away money is a great way to get engagement. McDonald's does that every summer, and it works really, really well. So here's what I wanted to know. How much Bitcoin is Coinbase giving away? Let's look at downloads. According to our estimates, the Coinbase app was downloaded 350,000 times between Sunday and Wednesday across the App Store and Google Play. And I'm keeping this estimate a little bit conservative because it happened so quickly. If all those downloads sign up and qualify for the promotion, Coinbase will be giving away a little over $5 million worth of Bitcoin. It's a lot, right? But it's a small price to pay in the grand scheme of things, and here's why this is very important. The goal of this ad was to promote Coinbase, of course, but it was also to make it easier for the masses to get into crypto. A lot of that happened last year, and as this continues to happen, I bet we'll be hearing more about crypto from our less tech-savvy family and friends, and that's good for crypto overall. And that's all I have for you this week. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and if you like this video, consider subscribing. I publish a new one every week. See you next week. Oh, and if you'd like to see why Apple is being fined 5 million euros every week in the Netherlands, check out last week's episode here.